Lunya, have you piled up the stones? Wang Yusheng took a basket of sweet potatoes, walked through the living room and shouted to the yard. Han Yu, I'll be fine soon. An Yulun also heard the voice coming from the living room and responded without looking back, and then continued to work. Isn't it piled up yet? Forget it, let me pile it up. Han Yu Jianren also didn't even know how to pile a roasted sweet potato, so he had no choice but to put the sweet potato in his hand on the steps, then put on slippers in the courtyard and walked to Ren Ye to help pile the stones together. Han Yu, I haven't roasted sweet potatoes in this way before. Lun also saw Wang Yusheng coming to help, and felt a little embarrassed, and touched his head. It's okay, after all, I want to thank Lun for sending me so many sweet potatoes. I feel a little sorry. Han Yu waved his hand when he saw it, so that Ren didn't care about it. At the same time, he thanked Ren for giving him sweet potatoes. Haha, it's okay. My relatives have sent too many sweet potatoes, and I can't finish it by myself. Han Yu, I used to eat sweet potatoes in the oven. This kind of sweet potatoes baked on a stone will it taste better than the oven made. Lun also saw Han Yu taking over the construction of the stone, so he got up and took the sweet potatoes and the wood used for roasting them. I don't know, it's the first time I made it. But I don't have an oven at home, so I had to try this method. Han Yu set up the stones, put the sweet potatoes and other things in it, and started roasting. While Han Yu held a fan and fanned the fire, he started chatting with Ren. Lun Yat, I will report to the school next week. I am transferred to your school and we are going to be classmates. Oh, have your uncle and aunt's affairs been handled? Ren also heard the news of Han Yu and asked Yu carefully. You don't need to be so careful, it's okay. It's been a year, and I'm fine. That's good, then I will show you around the school and get to know the school. Thank you so much, Ren. Well, how can I say we are friends too? Unfortunately, I am going to deliver the newspaper on Monday morning. I can't go to school with you. I can't show you the way. It's okay, I don't know where the school is. As for the office, classroom, etc., I can ask a classmate to ask. Han Yu waved his hand to indicate that he didn't care. However, you're going to school at that time, what about your sister? After finishing speaking, Lun also looked up from the courtyard to the balcony on the second floor. The floor-to-ceiling windows in the balcony were blocked by curtains, and there was no way to see what the ground was. And Han Yu also looked at the balcony on the second floor following Rinya's gaze. Looking at the room separated by the curtain, he sighed helplessly. Oh, this can only be the case. Sahu hasn't left the room for almost a year. I can't do anything. On school days, I can only prepare breakfast and lunch for her in advance. They are all locked up. And I have bought a mobile phone. Sajari can call me anytime when the time comes. It seems that this can only be done, Han Yu, it's really hard work. It's nothing, I'm used to it. Han Yu slammed the fan a few times like venting. Then the two began to chat. Lun Yat, I will transfer to your school next week, is there anything I should pay attention to? If you ask me this, I am not very clear. You also know that I have been working and making money for the second element that I love, so I didn't pay much attention to things in school. Lun also scratched his head a little embarrassedly. Well, it seems I can only explore it myself. There was a moment of silence between the two of them. They all looked up at the sky to cover up their embarrassment. Han Yu, do you smell anything? Well, it's a bit smelly. Han Yu, fire! Fire! Lun also pointed to the pile of stones and shouted. Han Yu looked at him, and the two of him didn't notice for a while, and fire emerged from the pile of stones. He stood up hurriedly, then kicked the pile of stones over with one foot. The two watched the flames underneath being crushed by the overturned stone, so they took a wooden stick and pulled the stone away to see how the sweet potatoes were roasting. Well! Han Yu, the sweet potatoes are all burnt. Lun also sighed with hands on hips. Yes, not only was it burnt, but it was also squashed. The rock on the top was too big. It just fell and squashed the sweet potatoes. Hanyu helplessly patted his forehead with his hand. Ren also talked to Hanyu, you look at me, I look at you. Then looked at the mess in the yard. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Hanyu couldn't help laughing. It seemed that the long depressed mood was released and became cheerful. Ha ha ha, ha, cough cough. Hanyu laughed for a while, accidentally laughed, and started coughing constantly. Ha 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 ha. Seeing Hanyu smiling, the laughter turned out to be miserable, and Ren couldn't help being aroused. Unable to hold back his emotions, he laughed like a gloat. So hearty laughter and uncomfortable coughing echoed in the yard. Ha, hi, cough cough. Don't laugh, Lun, let's do it again. Let's reroast sweet potatoes with stones. Hanyu stopped after laughing for a while, and then started to clean up the wreckage just now. Ah! Hanyu, do you want to do it again? Or forget it? That won't work. Failure is the mother of success. How can I give up after failing again? I have to keep doing it. Well. Okay, I'll help you. After speaking, Ren came over to help Hanyu and got together. Just when the two are busy. In the room with a balcony on the second floor, the curtain that blocked the sun and the line of sight was opened by a small gap, and behind the curtain was a very petite figure. A pair of eyes with aqua-blue pupils looked towards the yard through a small gap, staring at Hanyu's figure and kept observing. Nichan, I was smiling just now. Why are you smiling? What are you smiling at? Lun Yat, you reading www.yuyuganshu.com is really troublesome for you, thank you very much. Hanyu also expressed his gratitude to Ren when he sent Ren also out. Big husband, cute. We are friends, we live so close, and we will soon become classmates. This little thing is nothing. Anyway, thank you for your recent help. It's nothing to say, so don't take it to heart. Shuren also patted Hanyu on the shoulder. Moreover, the sweet potatoes baked on a stone pile really have a different flavor. Then, let's do this for today, and I have a part-time job to do later, so I will leave first. After speaking, Lun also got on his bicycle and left. Lun Yat, see you tomorrow, be careful on the road. After Hanyu watched Lun also left, he turned and went back to the house. While the remaining sweet potatoes are still hot, quickly take them to Sajari. But Hanyu didn't take the sweet potatoes to Sajari right away. Because the sweet potatoes were baked in a pile of rocks, the skin was a little dirty, and Sajari stayed in the room and couldn't come out. It would be more troublesome to take them directly to her. So Hanyu took out the sweet potato meat and put it on the plate, and then gave Sajari the skin after throwing it away. Sajari, I roasted sweet potatoes, and I have peeled off the skin. Hanyu came to Sajari's room on the second floor and knocked on the door. But there was no reaction inside. I put the sweet potatoes on the ground, remember to eat them while they are hot. After putting the sweet potatoes on the ground, Hanyu went back to his room. After entering his room, Hanyu lay down on his bed, and began to think about the things that came into this world and the future development. Wang Yusheng was lying on the bed, thinking that he would report to the new school next week, and he had a headache. After thinking about it carefully, it has been almost a year and a half since Wang Yusheng came into this world. In the original world, Wang Yusheng's life was an ordinary life. There is no big background. Ordinary parents are busy with work every day to maintain a small family. The family conditions are nothing except food and clothing. There is also a pretty cute sister. Before high school, Hanyu had a pretty good relationship with his family. It's a pity that since high school, Wang Yusheng's communication with his family has become less and less due to the need to live on campus. After graduating from high school, with hard work, Hanyu was admitted to a decent second university, but because the university was in another city, Hanyu also left his hometown. After graduating from university, Hanyu chose to stay in the big city where the university is located. So from high school to graduation from university, it took more than 7 years to communicate with my family. Hanyu no longer knew how to get along with his family. Although he still loves his parents and sister deep down in his heart, he no longer knows what to talk about with his family. After graduating, because of a bit boring character, Hanyu bumped and bumped, had no direction, changed several jobs, and his salary only allowed him to support himself in the big city. Every night, dragging his exhausted body back to the rental room, Hanyu wanted to be able to return to life. His previous years passed in a muddled way, just drifting with the flow. I really want to be a salted fish that doesn't have to worry about money. Finally, one day, in a meteor shower, Hanyu thought to himself, it would be great if he could have a different life. Then suddenly a word rang in Hanyu's mind. Okay. Hanyu fainted. After Hanyu returned to his mind, he found that he had crossed, and passed through to a junior high school student also called Wang Yusheng. According to the memory fragments in his mind, he found that he was still in the Neon country. Due to the mess of memory fragments, Wang Yusheng is still very unfamiliar with this world, so in order to be found out of his own anomaly, Hanyu decided to reduce contact with others. It happened that Wang Yusheng's mother in this world had passed away, and his father had recently married another divorced woman with a little girl. So Wang Yusheng, who had just come to this world, had an extra father, a deceased mother, a stepmother, and a younger sister. Wang Yusheng's father also noticed his son who had just passed by and became taciturn. But the father thought that his son was protesting because he was marrying other women, so he was not too nervous. On the contrary, he cared more about Hanyu, and took care of Hanyu in every possible way. Through the fusion of memory fragments for a period of time, Wang Yusheng also understood his situation. First of all, the history is similar to the original world, except that Huaxia changed a little during the Ming dynasty. Emperor Chongzhen was completely different from the original world. Under his various methods, Huaxia made various changes to allow the Ming dynasty to continue. However, after defeating the alien races in the north, according to historical inertia, after the death of Emperor Chongzhen, the power of the country was controlled by civil officials and once again embarked on the road of seclusion. Back to Hanyu's body, Hanyu's father is a Chinese family member, but this noble lineage has only his own father's line up to now, which is quite dilapidated. However, my father had his own unique vision for business. After selling off his family's patrimony, his father acted as an angel investor in the wave of the internet and successfully survived. Now Huaxia and Neon have some famous internet companies, and their father will have some shares. And Hanyu's mother came from a big family in the Neon Kingdom, but it is not clear what family Hanyu is. Unfortunately, my mother died of illness when she was in Hanyu Elementary School. Then, when Hanyu traveled to this world, his father chose to marry a gentlewoman who was painting. Because Hanyu had just crossed over, he was a little bit resistant to the new world. He was still thinking about his family in the original world. But after more than half a year of getting along, in the care of his father and mother, Hanyu also let go of his heart, and accepted the existence of the two. Of course Hanyu did not forget that lovely sister. Then the happy days have just begun, and bad luck has come to this family. My father took his mother with him in a plane crash on the way to work. Everyone on the plane lost contact. In the following days, Hanyu and his sister Sajari were at home every day waiting for news from their parents, and then they were waiting for one bad news after another. In the end, my sister Sajari couldn't bear it and hid in the room and never came out again. And Hanyu was an adult in his previous life, so he could endure it eventually. After, Hanyu began to deal with all the matters behind him. Since his father was also a member of Hanyu, it was a bit difficult. Fortunately, Uncle Su, a friend in front of his father, helped Hanyu deal with a series of things. And Uncle Su was born in the Jinling Su family. Although his father had a lot of shares, it was nothing to Uncle Su, and Hanyu had no other way, so he could only choose to trust Uncle Su. In addition, Hanyu's custody relationship was linked to his grandfather's name. Originally, my grandfather sent someone over to pick up Hanyu. But because of his younger sister, Hanyu refused the grandfather. Yu reading www.yuuganshu.com chooses to live with his sister Sajari. It turned out that when his father chose to join Sajari's mother after his mother died, Grandpa Hanyu was very dissatisfied. The grandfather also hated Hanyu's younger sister Sajari. When Grandpa came to pick up Hanyu, he planned to pick up Hanyu alone. As for Sajari, he planned to arrange to go to Sajari's relatives or an orphanage. But Hanyu was totally uneasy about Sajari, so he chose to stay and take care of Sajari. Grandpa was annoyed to leave Hanyu. After, Hanyu started living together with his younger sister Sajari. And Yulunan is a neighbor who lives nearby. I used to deliver newspapers to the Hanyu family every day. The two people are also considered to be familiar with each other. Especially after his parents had an accident, Ren often came to Hanyu's house to help, and the two became very close friends. Next week, Hanyu will officially transfer to Renya's school. And this is the result of Grandpa's operation, even though Hanyu is ignored. But Hanyu is also the only descendant of grandfather, so it is natural to arrange for Hanyu to have a good environment. At night, lying in bed thinking about the next plan. In the previous life, because there was no plan and no direction, nothing was done. So in this life I learned a lesson and made various plans for myself. As for the death, I can still stick to it after 3 minutes of enthusiasm. No one knows. First of all, I'm going to school next week, and all kinds of learning tools must be prepared. After I went to school, my younger sister stayed at home by herself. I have to prepare more ingredients and take precautions against theft. Well, in the end, Carrie doesn't have much money. I have to go to work for more than half a year to make some money. That's right, Hanyu, who has inherited a large inheritance, has no money. Wang Yusheng has no money anymore. Or the balance in Wang Yusheng's account is not much. Although Wang Yusheng inherited his father's estate and owns shares in major internet companies, the value cannot be measured concretely. But inheritance is taxable. Moreover, his father left suddenly and did not prepare Wang Yusheng with reasonable tax avoidance methods. Therefore, Wang Yusheng had to take out all the liquid funds at home and pay taxes to the government. After paying all kinds of taxes, there is only a little money left in the family's working capital to maintain daily life. Fortunately, when he bought the small courtyard villa, his father paid the whole amount in one lump sum, without Hanyu taking over the loan every month. The dividends of those internet companies' shares are set once a year by my father. And this year's dividends were taken by his father to continue investing, and Hanyu paid taxes. The next dividend will not be paid until the end of the year. And Grandpa also knows about Hanyu's financial situation. But Grandpa didn't intend to help Hanyu. Before Hanyu rebelled against his own affairs, Grandpa hadn't calmed down yet. In short, the conclusion is I am rich, very rich. But I have no money either. Now there are only a few 100,000 yen left in the account. It saves a bit and can't survive the Chinese New Year. Hanyu, who checked his assets, had a headache. Now it can be said that I have become the rich second generation as I wish, and it is a very rich kind. But this rich is a bit difficult for the time being. At least he has to find a way to survive the rest of the year. Don't move the shares that Dad left behind. It's not worth selling the shares for living expenses. Now the stock price of this share is still rising, who knows what it will become. Hanyu touched his chin and kept thinking. Let's go find a part-time job. If you insist a little bit, after this year, you can be a happy salted fish. Yes, Hanyu's wish is to be a salted fish, and it is a salted fish that can be eaten together and die without worrying about money. Now Hanyu has only had more than half a year from this wish. Persistence is victory. If you go to find Loon tomorrow, he is a working madman. In order to buy two-dimensional things and engage in so many part-time jobs, it is more appropriate to ask him. After thinking about these things, Shen Yi was going to take a shower and then went to bed. Sahu, the bath water is hot, do you want to take a bath? Brother, first go to the kitchen to clean up the tableware. After Hanyu prepared the bath water, he went to Sajari's room on the second floor and asked Sajari to take a bath. At the same time, Hanyu saw that there were some green peppers left in the tableware outside the door, and he was a little helpless. Sahu, you don't like to eat green peppers, so brother won't order takeaways with green peppers. But picky eaters are not good. Yes, this is takeaway. Hanyu, he can't cook. So in the process of living with Sajari, the food problem Hanyu was solved by the takeaway. As for nutrition, Hanyu is called some high-end food, so it will not be worse than ordinary people's own meals, but will be better. But the high-end food, although the ingredients and hygiene are better, but the takeout is after all takeout, the taste is the same, the ingredients inside are not controlled by oneself, and the price is also expensive. Hanyu has only a few 100,000 yen left for living expenses, and there are more high-end takeaways. This is also a big reason. After a while, there was no reaction in Sajari's room, and Hanyu didn't care. He knew that Sagiri took a few baths at night, and he might not go there. Instead, he often took a bath while he was out. Hanyu also knows that Sajari doesn't know how to face him. After all, the two people have actually had very little time to communicate since they met. Now that his mother is gone, Sajari doesn't know how to face her titular brother. So he picked up the plate and went to the kitchen. Ah, it's finally finished. After washing the dishes and chopsticks, putting the cutting board in place, and putting the remaining ingredients in the refrigerator, Hanyu stretched out. Then Hanyu walked through the living room and corridor to the bathroom. While washing the dishes just now, Hanyu heard the sound of Sajari stepping down the stairs and the sound of the shower head pouring water. Hanyu knew that Sajari had just come down to take a bath. And seeing the change of clothes in the clothes frame next to the washing machine, Hanyu can also confirm that Sajari has taken a bath. Then Hanyu's gaze was involuntarily attracted by the clothes inside the frame. There was a green hooded jacket in the frame. This dress Hanyu had never seen Sajari pass through. Then there is a pink pajama with lace, which looks very cute. But it doesn't matter, a pink lipstick is placed on the top of the clothes. It's the age when I like pink. Hanyu thought to himself, and suddenly there was a ding in his mind. Hanyu was shocked. The integration of the two-dimensional salted fish system is complete. World testing. The world confirms. Parallel world, number 10,086. System parameters are automatically corrected. The host body scan begins. Scanning completed, evaluation inferior. The system description is released. Please pay attention to receiving. Then Hanyu started to have a bunch of information in his mind. He had the experience of receiving memory fragments. Hanyu received the information quite smoothly. Through reading the information, Hanyu also understood what happened. It turns out that Hanyu's coming to this world is an experiment, or a game, done by an indescribable boss. After reading a lot of novels at a certain point, this big man felt that the routines were all the same. So on a whim, what would happen if you really throw someone into a different world? So Hanyu was lucky, and unfortunately he was selected to participate in this game, and was thrown into this strange world before he could say goodbye to his original family. And besides Hanyu, many other people were also selected, but they were thrown into other worlds. And because of the crossing between different worlds, the guidance system of the Big Brother to the newcomers has changed to varying degrees. And Hanyu's guidance system becomes the so-called salted fish system. As for how to use it, Hanyu has to find out by himself. Well, I am not short of money to some extent. Both my parents are dead, I have a sister in a house. I'm already a salted fish waiting to die. What can this system do? Hanyu couldn't help but touch his head. Ding, Novice Mission Sister's holy thing. Please choose, 1. Pick up my sister's underwear and bury her face in. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com takes a deep breath, and sighs with emotion, ah. This is the smell of my sister. 2. Bring my sister's underwear to her head, dance a passionate samba, and yell I want to fill the world with love. The task is completed and the newbie gift package will be given out. Please choose. Hanyu patted his forehead, moaning helplessly. Beep big guy, are you beep? Why does the system become such a monster when it comes to me? Although I am boring, I am not a hentai, beep beep Hanyu spit out wildly, and then because the words are too filthy, and they are muted and harmonious. Please choose. Please choose. Hanyu decided to ignore the constant voices in his head, and then took off his clothes and prepared to take a bath. However, after not choosing for a long time, the system seemed to take measures, and Hanyu felt an unstoppable pain in his head. What? Hanyu suddenly screamed and rolled on the ground with his head in his arms. The pain even made Hanyu hit the wall with his head, trying to divert his attention. But the pain caused by hitting the wall is far less than the pain from the system. And Sajari on the second floor was startled when he heard Hanyu's screams downstairs, and then heard the voice that left behind. I was a little scared. Nichan, what's wrong? Thinking, Sajari put her hand on the doorknob. Please choose. Please choose. Well, good, I choose. I choose it. Hanyu decided to persuade in the unbearable pain. After shouting out the words to choose, I felt the pain eased. Please choose. I choose. Please choose. I choose. I choose the first one. After Wang Yusheng calmed down, he thought about it and chose the first one, because the second option was too dynamic, so he jumped into a passionate samba and shouted. Such a loud noise will definitely be heard by Sajari. If you bring Sajari over and see her wearing her horns on her head, she is still dancing samba frantically. That picture is so beautiful that she will cannot imagine. After taking a deep breath, Yu Yanyan moved his hands. Tremblingly stretched out his hand to the underwear in the clothes frame, the moment he touched the underwear. The soft and silky fabric texture softened Hanyu's fingers. I don't want to continue. But the vague feeling in his head caused Hanyu to fight a cold war. Gritting his teeth, transfer all the power to his hands to continue. The pink look very simple, with only a bow decoration in the center of the lace. Gudong. Hanyu couldn't help but swallowed his saliva, clutching the underwear tightly with his palm, as if he was afraid that the underwear would fall from his hand if it was too slippery. In Hanyu's chest, his heart was beating wildly. The hand holding the underwear was trembling. For a long time, Hanyu closed his eyes and blocked Sajari's in his mouth and nose. Then took a deep breath. Sajari's is not as sweaty as Hanyu imagined, nor is it tasteless. Instead, after Hanyu took a deep breath, a girl's unique faint fragrance filled Hanyu's nose and mouth. Immediately afterwards, Hanyu couldn't help but yell the sentence without the system prompt. Ah! This is the smell of my sister. Dang dang! The sound of things falling from the quiet house interrupted Hanyu's abnormal behavior and made him suddenly excited. Then Hanyu heard the sound of someone rushing upstairs on the stairs. The sound of the door being slammed hard came from the second floor. In the room, Sajari leaned back against the door. After the rush and a series of stimulation just now, Sajari felt a little soft. The heart was beating non-stop, and the small face and the skin exposed outside the pajamas became flushed. Sajari felt like she had a fever, and she had a feeling in her heart that she hadn't renewed. All this makes Sajari at a loss. Njiang Baga. What is Nichan doing? How can I do something like this to someone? Ha, Ziu, Ka, Shi, I. What should I do? Suddenly, Sagumi was shocked when he heard the sound of someone coming up from the stairs, and quickly turned off the light in the room. The room suddenly became dark. On the small round table next to the bed, the light from the laptop screen became the only light source in the room. No way! Hanyu was now in a cold sweat and couldn't believe what happened just now. The lights in the corridor did not turn on. Hanyu came to the door of the bathroom, followed by the light inside. Hanyu found a black square-shaped unidentified object dropped in the dark corridor. Hanyu picked up the thing and found it was an anti-wolf electric shock device. And it was the one I bought for Sajiri himself. When two people lived together, Hanyu was going out to do errands. Hanyu was afraid that leaving Sajiri alone would be dangerous, so he deliberately chose an anti-wolf electric shock device for Sajiri. It's over. Sajiri must have watched it. The big thing is not good. Something big. Hanyu began to become incoherent. What should I do? What should I do? My sister must think that my brother is a pervert now. And it is a pervert with bad intentions toward her. No. I have to do something. You can't be misunderstood by Sajiri. Thinking about it, Hanyu went upstairs with the anti-wolf shock device. Sajiri, I left breakfast at the door. I made this breakfast by myself. Try it. If you don't like it, don't eat it. There are leftovers from yesterday in the refrigerator. If you are hungry, put it in the microwave. Hanyu stood at the door and knocked on the door. Seeing that there was no response in the room, I had to put breakfast at the door, said a few words, and went downstairs. Sajiri, I'm going to school. If there is anything at home, remember to call me. Dang dang. The door to the lobby was closed, and Hanyu went out too. In the room on the second floor, the door was opened with a small gap. Sao looked at the breakfast at the door. It was a bowl of Chinese yangchun noodles, very light soup noodles. Sajiri thoughtfully. Nay sauce, how about the breakfast you made yourself? Why do you cook your own sauce today? They usually order takeaways. Hanyu who went outside, and Hanyu had a very unclear premonition about his future days. After Hanyu saw the anti-wolf shock device on the ground in the corridor yesterday, Hanyu understood that his hentai behavior was probably seen by his younger sister Sajiri. Hanyu went upstairs and knocked on the door, and asked Sajiri in the room, explaining that he was controlled by the system just now. But there was no sound in the room. Then Hanyu looked into the room through the crack of the door, and found that it was dark and there seemed to be no lights on. There was no movement in such a loud noise, and Hanyu was a little worried about the Sajiri inside, so he stretched out his hand to open the door. As a result, Hanyu found that the door, which was not normally locked, was locked by a reverse lock. Hanyu felt desolate in his heart. Talked again. After there was no response in the room, Hanyu was so desperate to go take a bath, and then went to bed. Wake up the next morning, Hanyu feels that his body has become a little different. He clenched his fists hard and found that he seemed to have become stronger. It seems a bit different, what's the matter? Ding, the host has completed the task, and the novice gift package has been sent. Well? Is the salted fish system messed up? What's the situation? The system. There was a systematic voice in his head, and Hanyu was a little confused and couldn't help asking. The host completed the novice mission yesterday. The sister's holy thing. Newbie gift pack physical improvement has been sent, the integration is complete. Novice gift pack cooking mastery leave 1 has been sent, and the fusion is complete. Host, Wang Yusheng. Gender, male. Age, 16 years old. Physique leave 2. UU reading www.uuganshu.com through communication with the system. Hanyu finally understood the changes in his body. Simply put, by doing system tasks, the system will randomly provide various rewards to help the host improve various abilities, so as not to worry about the lack of the ability to make money. But I'm already a rich second generation who can eat and wait to die. I don't particularly need these abilities. And the system, your mission is too abnormal, I'm afraid I can't handle it. There is a reward for completing the task, and there is a penalty for not completing the task. Please come on the host system. It's shameful to be cute. Hanyu wanted to cry without tears. At the entrance of Toyosaki Academy, Wang Yusheng looked at the huge campus and touched his head. The scenery in the college is very good. The tall trees grow very lush, the huge canopy blocks the sun and leaves a piece of green shade, the flower bed is rich in variety, and the flowers of various colors bloom are really beautiful. And the students passing by Wang Yusheng, wearing the same school uniform as Hanyu, are full of youthful breath. Then Hanyu was a little distressed, he didn't know how to get to the principal's office. There is no way, Lun hasn't come yet. I can only find someone to ask for the next way. Ano Hanyu saw a girl with shawl and short hair passing by, and patted her on the shoulder. Excuse me, I'm a new transfer student, I don't know where the principal's office is, can you tell my mom? Excuse me. After speaking, Hanyu saw the girl turn her head. The wind blew the treetops and brought a rustle. The morning wind is a bit noisy. Hanyu saw the girl turn her head. Under closer observation, the girl has a straight face, not short or tall, and has a delicate skin. The convex part is convex, and the concave part is also quite concave. She has a shoulder-length bob. She is a beautiful girl. Look. It looks cute. It's just that the expressionless look on the girl's face made Hanyu a little embarrassed, wondering if he offended her by tapping the girl's shoulder suddenly. So Hanyu quickly apologized and repeated what he said just now. I'm very sorry, I'm a new transfer student, I don't know where the principal's office is, so I'm bothering you, can you tell me? Trouble you? Ah, that's it. I was slapped on my shoulder suddenly, and I was a little frightened. Although the girl said that she was a little frightened, there was not a trace of emotional fluctuation in her voice. It was as plain as a glass of water, but she did not give people a sense of deserted alienation. Ah! Sorry, there is no one else around, I have to disturb you. Ah, it's okay. If you want to go to the principal's room, just walk straight to the school building. The room on the top floor is the principal's room. Ah, is that position? Hanyu pointed to a location in the teaching building according to the girl's instructions. It's that location. But I'm going to the classroom. If nothing else, I'll leave. Ah, it's gone, it's gone. Excuse me. Goodbye. Goodbye. After said, the girl turned and left. And Hanyu also walked to the principal's office immediately. Standing at the door of the principal's office, Hanyu felt as if he had forgotten something. Hey, there is a feeling of forgetting something. I can't remember it for a while. However, it doesn't seem to be a particularly important thing. Forget it, let's take care of enrollment first. After thinking about it, Hanyu knocked on the door of the principal's office. Please come in. Because Hanyu was arranged by his grandfather to come to this school, the principal had received information from Hanyu a long time ago. Not only did Hanyu inherit his father's estate, he was also a shareholder of many well-known companies, but the family of his grandfather was also a neon behemoth, and was said to be a prince. But now people are ridiculing, Hanyu is likely to inherit the family in the future. So the principal naturally focused on Hanyu, and recognized Hanyu when he first entered the office. Ah! It's Master Hanyu. Please sit down, please sit down. The principal got up and arranged for Hanyu to take a seat. Hanyu saw that the principal was a kind-faced grandfather, and he quickly asked the principal to be polite. Ah, the principal is too polite. It must have caused you a lot of trouble to report to the school until today. I'm really sorry. It doesn't matter, it's all trivial things. Master Hanyu's admission procedures have been arranged for you to do it for you. As for the class, the number of classes A, B, and D in the second year is not full. Master Hanyu, do you see which class it is? Oh, Class B in the second year, and a friend of mine happened to be in Class B in the second year. Oh, who did Master Hanyu know in Class B of the second year? It's called An Yulun. Ah, that guy. Hearing An Yulunya's name, the principal's face was a little unnatural. Does the principal know Ren too? After all, the school is so big, and the principal among so many students knows that An Yulun is also an ordinary-looking otaku, and Hanyu is a little curious. Ha ha ha, he is a celebrity in the school. An Yulun is also a heavy otaku. In the past, I ran to the teacher's office to fight for permission with the Dean of Academic Affairs in order to play animations on the school celebration. In the end, things got to the principal's side. The principal was very impressed with him. The principal thought for a while and said to Hanyu, "Since Master Hanyu has friends in Class B, how about I arrange Master Hanyu to Class B?" "Yes, I can do any class." "In that case, Master Hanyu will wait a moment. I will call the class teacher of Class B to come over and take you to the classroom." Then trouble the principal. When the principal said that someone would come and lead him, Hanyu remembered what he had forgotten. "When I came to school just now, I asked the girl for directions, but after asking the way, I didn't seem to thank the girl properly. I didn't know what her name was." "Hey? That girl? I remember she was a pretty girl, why can't I remember what she looked like?" Hanyu touched his chin, which hadn't grown a beard. "Forget it, thank you if you have a chance to meet you." Was thinking, the principal finished the call and smiled and said to Hanyu, "Master Hanyu, wait a minute, your head teacher will be here soon." So they didn't wait long, and there was a knock on the door. "Please come in." The office door was pushed open, and a beautiful woman with long straight black hair came in. "Teacher Shizuka Hirotsuka, this is the transfer student Wang Yusheng, who is assigned to Class B, so you can take him to the classroom." The principal stepped forward to introduce them to each other. And Mr. Hanyu and Hirotsuka Shizuka also started to look at each other. Hanyu looked at Shizuka Hirotsuka, and found Shizuka Hirotsuka thought a very temperamental beauty, tall, with long black hair, reaching the thigh. Inside, he was wearing a white shirt with a black vest and a tie. Outside, there is a coat that looks like a white coat, but it doesn't make people feel weird. On the contrary, it gives people a very handsome feeling. "Kid, go with me." Teacher Shizuka Hirotsuka spoke cleanly, then turned around and walked outside the office. Hanyu had to talk to the principal, and quickly went out behind Hirotsuka teacher. When the principal in the office saw what Hirotsuka was doing just now, he suddenly thought of Hirotsuka's usual appearance, and suddenly got startled in a cold sweat. Teacher Shizuka Hirotsuka's teaching methods are a bit special. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com. Hope that Master Hanyu will be fine. Hanyu followed Hirotsuka teacher behind and looked at her, but in his heart he kept guessing what kind of personality the teacher would be and whether he would get along well in the future. "Now I feel a little regretful. I didn't communicate with the principal about the teacher's character, so I chose Class B. I don't know what will happen in the future. Boy, follow me to get the textbook first, and then I will take it to the classroom." "Okay, teacher." Hanyu came here for the first time, so he behaved honestly. When I arrived at the place where the textbooks were put, Hanyu went to pick up the textbooks he needed by himself under Hirotsuka's instructions. And Hanyu took the book and looked at Shizuka Hirotsuka. Finding that Shizuka Hirotsuka didn't know what to look for, she kept bending and getting up, revealing her beautiful body curve hidden by the white coat to Hanyu's eyes. Teacher Shizuka Hirotsuka's attention was not on Hanyu's side. His face was facing Hanyu. Hanyu found that the skin on the teacher's face was delicate and firm, and very white. The combination of correct facial features exudes a different kind of charm. Ding! Suddenly, a sound came in his mind, which made Hanyu have an unclear premonition in his heart. System task: beautiful teacher race high. Please choose 1. Come to the beauty teacher, pick up her chin with your index finger, and say to her, "Sister, Do you want to go away? 2. Come to the beauty teacher, use your index finger to pick up her chin, and say to her, Sister, I have an ancestral chromosome I want to give you, please choose. Please choose. Hanyu held his head in his hands and knelt on the ground. Something big happened. Hanyu didn't want to, very much. The system gives 2 options, it's sexual harassment at all. I just came to school on the first day, if Hanyu did it again according to the options given by the system, no matter which option it was. Hanyu knew that his end would not be good, and it was estimated that he would soon be crowned with a perverted name. But if you don't do it, it hurts. It's a sharp pain. Now Hanyu has been rolled all over by the pain coming from his head, and the textbooks have also been thrown aside by Hanyu, scattered on the ground. And Shizuka, who was looking for something, was shocked when he saw Hanyu, who suddenly dropped the book on the ground and then rolled all over the floor. He hurried to the side of Hanyu, helped Hanyu up, and asked about Hanyu's situation with concern. Hey, kid! What's wrong with you? You suddenly rolled on the ground. The ground is very clean. I mopped the ground yesterday. You don't need to be a human mop. Looking at Hanyu's appearance, Hiratsuka still does not forget to complain. Hanyu, who was rolling on the floor, was restrained by Hiratsuka, and he could only press his head with his hands, trying to lighten his pain. Then it was useless, Hanyu still yelled out in pain. Shizuka Hiratsuka was still complaining about Hanyu at first because Hanyu was going to be funny. But Hanyu suddenly screamed in pain, making Hiratsuka realize that Hanyu was not doing a spoof, and he couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Hey, boy! Are you okay? What's wrong with you? How about I take you to the health room for a look? After speaking, he picked up Hanyu on his back and ran to the school health room. Hanyu lay on Hiratsuka's back, and he could feel that although Hiratsuka's body was slender, he seemed to be exercising regularly, so he was very strong. While breathing, Hanyu could smell Hiratsuka's hair with a delicate fragrance, probably the smell of shampoo. This is the first time Hanyu has had such close contact with the opposite besides his family. However, the pain in his head gave Hanyu no more energy to think about it. After arriving in the health room, Shizuka Hiratsuka pushed open the door of the health room. There is a woman sitting in the health room, a very woman. She has short brown hair with slightly curled ends. Inside the doctor's white coat outside was a very exposed pink shirt, and his broad mind couldn't hide it at all. At this time, she was also startled by Hiratsuka's violent opening of the door. God! It's Hiratsuka teacher, who frightened me. What's wrong with you so panting? Hey? You are still carrying a young man. Shizuka Hiratsuka, who rushed all the way with Hanyu on his back, stood at the entrance of the health room, panting, and was a little relieved when he saw the healthcare teacher in the health room. Dr. Ryoko Mimon, this student fell to the ground suddenly. Come and help see what's wrong. Mito Ryoko heard Hiratsuka Shizuka's words, her smirking face also became serious, and hurried to the side of Shizuka, helping her put Hanyu on the bed in the health room. Then he went back and took the stethoscope and other medical examination equipment, and began to insist on Hanyu's body. How's it going? Nothing will happen, right? Although it was the first time that Shizuka and Hanyu met today, since Hanyu was assigned to her class, it was naturally her student. So Hanyu suddenly fell to the ground today, and his painful appearance made Shizuka very anxious. Dr. Ryoko Mimon, after checking Hanyu, he sighed with an anxious look on Shizuka's face next to the bed. And Shizuka Hiratsuka was shocked when he heard Ryoko Mito sigh. He grabbed Mimon Ryoko's hand and asked. How about it, there will be nothing wrong. Ryoko Mito broke free of Hiratsuka's hands, and said with some embarrassment. At the moment, this student has no problems with other aspects, but he does not look like he is acting. It seems that he has a pain in his head that he can't bear, but the school equipment is too simple, I really check it. What is the reason for not coming out makes him feel pain in the head. What should I do? Hearing Mimon Ryoko's explanation, Hirotsuka was a little panicked. The headmaster had just handed Hanyu over to her, but she was a little at a loss when something like this happened. I think it's better to call and send him to the hospital, where the equipment is relatively complete, and a CT scan may be able to find out the cause. Mimon Ryoko thought for a while and made his own suggestion. Okay, I will call now. After speaking, Shizuka took out his mobile phone and prepared to make a call. Then a hand that suddenly stretched out grabbed Shizuka's wrist and stopped her making a call. Teacher no longer needs to call. The pain caused Hanyu to sweat in a cold sweat. Seeing that he was going to enter the hospital, Hanyu had to make a choice when prompted by the system. Please choose. I choose. After making the choice, the pain felt more than half of it, and Hanyu also regained some strength. So Hanyu hurriedly stopped Hirotsuka's call, and at the same time, he spoke to relieve Hirotsuka's peace of mind. It's just that the previous tossing has made Hanyu consume a lot of energy, and his words are soft, almost inaudible. Fortunately, the health room was relatively quiet, and the other two people present heard Hanyu's words. Shizuka Hirotsuka heard Hanyu's words and looked at Hanyu. Seeing that Hanyu's lips moved slightly, as if he still wanted to say something, he hurriedly moved his head to Hanyu's mouth, wanting to hear what Hanyu was saying. Hanyu, what are you going to say? The teacher is listening. After talking about Shizuka, he felt that his chin seemed to be touched by something, so he looked down and found that Hanyu was using his hand to specify his chin. And following the movement of Hanyu's index finger, Shizuka's face was pulled toward Hanyu. Hanyu looked haggard, his lips turned pale, and he looked very weak, but he still looked at him with a smile. Then Hanyu's lips squirmed. Sister, is you reading www.yuyuganshu.com out of your mind? The health room is quiet, and even the sound of the wind blowing outside the window can be heard. After hearing what Hanyu said, Ryoko Mito opened her little cherry mouth in disbelief, and then covered it with her hand. Then after thinking for a while, Mimon Ryoko began to have a playful smile on his face, smiling as he looked at Hanyu lying on the bed and Shizuka Hirotsuka, who was flushed on the side, and the two of them kept looking at him. Hey! It doesn't hurt anymore. After the pain finally left his head, Hanyu suddenly felt relieved. He cherishes his current state very much, because he knows that he is going to die next, and he is dead. It's just that, before dying, Hanyu didn't want to worry about it anymore, just wanted to enjoy the short peace now. Beside the hospital bed, Hirotsuka slowly stood up. It happened that Shizuka Hirotsuka was facing the window of the health room, so when she stood up, she blocked Hanyu's light. Hanyu could only see a slender but dark figure standing aside. Wang Yusheng. Hanyu can feel the anger contained in this shout. Because this is Hirotsuka Jing shouting gritted his teeth. In Hanyu's line of sight, a burst of black air was emerging from Hirotsuka Jing's body and rising in this space. Two red rays of light in the black figure pierced Hanyu's eyes. There is a kind of breath called murderous aura. Woe *zija should smelly boy. After being stimulated by the high decibel sound in his ears, Hanyu felt a force explode on his body. Then, there is no more. Ding reward has been issued. Secrets of Supreme Fried Rice *1. Where is this? After Hanyu's soul returned to his body, his brain was still down. Am I lying in bed? Hanyu looked around and found that he seemed to be lying on the bed, and his bed was surrounded by a circle of white curtains, and he could not tell where he was. Hanyu slowed down, lifted the quilt on his body, and was about to get up. Sigh, it hurts. However, as soon as Hanyu moved, he felt that almost no part of his body was painless, and the painful area would feel swollen, as if he had been beaten and swollen. The sensations from the body kept stimulating Hanyu's nerves. Fortunately, Hanyu had suffered from the pain caused by the previous system, and now Hanyu felt that he could bear the pain in his body. And Hanyu felt that his face and head didn't have any special sensations, indicating that either it was painful to nerve palsy, and he couldn't feel it anymore. Either the head is not injured, and his handsome face is not broken. Hiss, La. The curtain beside the hospital bed was pulled open, only to see a woman with a broad mind and wearing a doctor's white coat came in. Hanyu compared the image of this woman with his own memory, and then remembered that it was the former Dr. Ryoko Mimon. Seeing Ryoko Mito approaching, Hanyu struggled to get up and sit down. God! Hanyu Yusen, wake up! Seeing that Hanyu was up, Ryoko Mito stepped forward to Hanyu and began to check Hanyu's body with his feet. And Hanyu was a little embarrassed to be touched by Ryoko. There is also some redness on the face. Mikado-sensei, what are you doing? Hey? Hanyu Yusen. Why are you shy now? The teacher is checking your health. Oh, okay. Hanyu was only a little embarrassed to cooperate with Ryoko Mimon's inspection. Hiss. Hanyu was pressed to a painful part by Ryoko Mimon, and he took a breath. It's okay, no big problem. It's just a bit bruised, just go back and apply some ointment. After speaking, Ryoko Mimon stood up. When Hanyu was examined before, Ryoko Mimon leaned over, and the smooth skin on her chest was exposed in front of Hanyu's eyes. Now Hanyu looks up in shame. Alright, Hanyu Yusen, you are in good health. Are you going to get out of bed now? Or are you going to be lying down? Lie down again, lie down again. Hanyu's current situation is a bit embarrassing, and he replied with a twist. And Ryoko Mimon saw Hanyu's appearance, noticed the discordant part, and showed a playful smile on his face. God, God! When Hanyu molested Shizuka Hiratsuka before, he was so courageous. As a result, the teacher checked your body and touched you a few times and you were embarrassed to be so shy. The teacher thought you only like Shizuka Hiratsuka. I don't like the teacher's type. Speaking, Ryoko Mimon sat down by Hanyu's bed. However, it seems that your response is still very honest now. Hanyu Yusen, Ryoko Mimon breathed in Hanyu's ear. Suddenly Hanyu felt that his body was weak, and he couldn't sit still. Teacher. Okay, okay. The teacher won't tease you anymore. But in the morning, Hanyu Yusen was not as bold as he is now. You dare to do something like that to Hiratsuka teacher, you are the first in history. Yet. Ryoko Mimon covered her mouth and laughed. No, no, teacher. I didn't mean it. Hanyu waved his hand to explain. That was not intentional, what else could it be? Ah! Hanyu opened his mouth and was speechless. It is estimated that Hanyu told Ryoko Mimon about the system, but she might not believe it. Then Mimon Ryoko looked up and down Hanyu, trying to recognize this bold boy. His eyes fell on the discordant part of Hanyu's body. Isn't it intentional, is it instinct? God! Hanyu's mate is really H. Hanyu didn't dare to let Mimon Ryoko continue to hold on to things, so he wanted to change the subject quickly. Teacher, what happened afterwards? Why did I fall asleep and my whole body hurts now? What's the matter, don't you know if you think about it? Ryoko Mimon walked to the desk and sat down, then continued. If you do a good deed, you will naturally be rewarded. You didn't fall asleep, but fainted. As for yourself, it was the reward of Hiratsuka-sensei. In fact, Hanyu also knows what's going on, but now he is like an ostrich with his head buried in the ground. He doesn't want to accept reality and deceives himself. Teacher Shizuka Hiratsuka has confessed to me. If you wake up, just stay here and don't walk around. She will come and take you to the classroom. After saying that, Ryoko Hiratsuka picked up the phone and contacted Shizuka Hiratsuka. And Hanyu honestly stayed in bed, waiting for the next Shura field. After a while, the door of the health room was opened. Teacher Shizuka Hiratsuka came in. Mimon Ryoko stood up with a smile, and Shizuka Hirotsuka stared fiercely when he was about to say something to the two of them. So Mimon Ryoko stayed quietly, looking at the other two people with a playful look. Hirotsuka turned his head and saw Wang Yusheng, his face turned red. Took a deep breath, and Hirotsuka calmed down, returning to the calmness that Hanyu had when he first saw her. "Boy, are you dead? Follow me if you don't die." "Oh, oh. Okay." Hanyu didn't say anything, and honestly got up and put on shoes, and followed Hirotsuka out of the health room. And after Hanyu followed Hirotsuka Shizuo to leave the health room for a certain distance, Yu reading www.yunsha.com Hirotsuka Shizuka stopped. Fortunately, Hanyu was more focused because he was afraid that Hirotsuka would get fat and beat him. When Hirotsuka stopped quietly, he also stopped in time without bumping into it. After Hirotsuka stopped quietly, he turned around and directly grabbed Hanyu by the collar, pressed Hanyu to one side of the wall, and gave Hanyu a wall. "Boy, you are so brave." "No, sir. I have had to suffer." Hanyu shook his head nervously, not daring to move his hands, for fear of touching places that shouldn't be touched. "Humph! Brat, you have fallen into my hands now, do you know it honestly?" "Knowledge. From now on, I will do whatever I ask you to do. If you dare to make trouble in the class, you know the consequences." "I know. Everything is up to you." Hanyu quickly packed up the tickets. Hirotsuka-sensei teacher looked a little slow, and let go of Hanyu's collar. "The next lesson happens to be my class, and all your things are in the classroom. You are ready, and think about how to introduce yourself later." After speaking, he turned around and continued to walk towards the classroom. Hanyu took a sigh of relief when seeing Hirotsuka teacher letting go, and quickly followed her footsteps. "But in the future, it feels a bit difficult. Is it too late for me to find the principal to change classes? I will introduce myself later, it's really troublesome. Just say a few words." Thinking about Hanyu scratching his head. Ding! An ominous premonition came to Hanyu's heart spontaneously. Long-term system task pretend to be like wind, always accompany me. Legend starts with self-introduction. Ding! Long-term system task pretend to be like wind, always accompany me. Forward, life is the most precious thing for a person. Life belongs to a person only once. A person's life should be spent like this: when he looks back on the past, he will not regret his inaction and wasted years, nor will he be vile and live vulgar and guilty. In this way, when he is dying, he can say, "I have dedicated my entire life and all my energy to the most magnificent cause in the world, fighting to pretend to be a force." Provide the initial props. Encyclopedia of Music for Trouble has been stored in mobile phones and computers. Mission Introduction: the ups and downs of life are about to begin, new storms have appeared, how can you stop, travel through time and space to do your best, in order to pretend to be forced to achieve. Please host in the next 10 days to pretend to be forced to make trouble. According to the host's performance, the system will give scores, and if it exceeds 60, it will be qualified. If it is not exceeded, it will be punished. Task rewards, based on points. Failure punishment: women's clothing is a kind of belief. I have worn women's clothing in school for a month. Current score, 0. Host, please come on. After receiving the information from the system, Hanyu covered his face with his hand, feeling like he was really sunny. "I'm just a little boring, this is forcing me to get rid of only a little boring." Hanyu was too weak to complain to himself. A little bit eager to cry without tears, why did I put on such an unlucky system? I don't know if the systems of the other brothers and sisters who crossed the same class as him are so bad, or if he is the only one. Unconsciously, Wang Yusheng screamed. And Shizuka Hirotsuka in front of him heard the movement behind, so he scolded. "Boy, what's going crazy behind you? Hurry up and keep up." "Oh." Wang Yusheng, who was following Hirotsuka, had already accepted his fate. Because whether it was the pain from the depths of the soul or the punishment of being a female gangster at school for a month, he could not bear the burden in his life. In that case, let's start with self-introduction. Thinking, Hanyu took the phone out of his pocket, turned on the music player, and started to look at the music list inside, wanting to see how the contents inside helped him. When Hanyu turned to a name in the list, Hanyu's eyes lit up and he had an idea in his mind. Be quiet, everyone. Shizuka Hirotsuka patted the table. The classroom, which was still a bit noisy, suddenly became quiet. Well, for this lesson we will continue with the last text and end the unfinished content. Ahem, all the students underneath responded. But, before the class, we have an extra transfer student in our class. Let him introduce himself to everyone, and then arrange his position. Transfer student A, male and female. It's a girl, it must be a cute girl. Boy A called out loudly. I hope he is a handsome boy. Sister Yi said after the girl next to her. I wonder if the new classmates will get along well. Will it be that person in the morning? In the corner of the classroom, a quiet girl tilted her head thinking. Hey, humans who are struggling in the third dimension. The second dimension is king. Anulun also pushed his glasses, and continued to recall the animation plots she saw yesterday, thinking about how to write today's tasting blog post. When I heard that a transfer student came over, the students underneath talked a lot and began to imagine what the transfer student would be like. Quiet, quiet. After Shizuka patted the desk to calm the classroom, he shouted to the outside. The brat outside, come in quickly. The door of the classroom was opened, and Hanyu walked into the classroom. It was a man who came in. The boys underneath were all wailing, and the girls were so excited that they started to discuss with each other. How can it be repaired? It turned out to be a man. My sister. Male classmate 1. Even if you are a girl, you won't be your girlfriend. The second male classmate. What did you say? Do you want to fight? Male classmate 1. The male classmate was persuaded. Forget it if you are a man. It's even more handsome than me. Male classmate 3. Indeed, I think he looks pretty handsome. Male classmate 4. Right, right. I think he looks pretty cute. Male classmate 5. Cute. Male student 3, male student 4. Yes, yes, don't you think he looks cute? Cute boys are the treasures of the world. Cute boys match high. Male classmate 5. He male student 3 and male student 4 quietly moved their seats away from male student 5. Hey, female classmate Yuchen, he is so handsome. Female classmate 2. Yes, yes. He looks like a star. Female classmate 1. I don't know if she has a girlfriend. Female classmate 3. Look, look. His clothes. Female classmate 4. What's wrong with the clothes? Others asked. Look at his clothes. It's bulging up. Drumming up. The female classmates stared at each other. Muscles. Baga. You see that his body is obviously not fat. But his clothes are bulging. It means that he is the type that looks thin in clothes and has flesh when undressed. There must be strong muscles under the clothes. Okay, because of the reward of Shizuka Hirotsuka, Hanyu's body was beaten and swollen except for the head. Now the swollen flesh of his clothes is supported. The result was misunderstood by the female classmate below. You seem to be right. The other female classmates couldn't help but fell into a beautiful fantasy, and Hanyu's face was matched with a strong body. Female classmate Si couldn't help clamping her legs and rubbing back and forth a few times. Ah, I really want to have a great harmony of life with him, and the female student's breathing became a little heavier. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com. Sure enough, it was the boy in the morning. But the figure looks a bit wrong. The quiet girl in the corner just now was a little strange about Hanyu's change. It turned out to be Han Yukin. I didn't expect to become a classmate. An Yulun was also a little surprised at Hanyu's arrival. Quiet. Teacher Shizuka took control of the field again. Classmate, what is your name? Do you have a girlfriend? Or do you have a boyfriend? The bold girl below asked aloud. Hanyu looked at the girl with a slight smile, and the girl's heart slammed into the deer with his kind smile. Then Hanyu took out the phone from his hand and turned on the music player. Clang 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 clang. Suddenly, exciting music came from the phone and echoed in the classroom. Since you have asked sincerely, I will tell you compassionately. In order to prevent the world from being destroyed, to protect the peace of the world, implement love and true evil, cute and charming character. Next. Wang Yusheng. I am an explorer traveling through the human growth river. The white hole and the white tomorrow are waiting for me. That's it. By the way, I don't have a girlfriend. What the is a boyfriend? In conjunction with the music, Hanyu introduced himself with a set of actions and lines. The second-year Class B is quiet at this moment, and the voices of teachers and classmates reading from other classes are heard. Hanyu came to the window, opened the window, and let the breeze disturb his bangs. Ah! The wind today is very noisy. Wang Yusheng hypnotized himself. Wang Yusheng, who was immersed in the state of being overpowered, was awakened by the voice of teacher Hiratsuka behind him, and his blurred eyes became extremely clear. Although Hiratsuka teacher's voice is extremely gentle, but he can feel the anger under the gentle disguise. Like a calm sea, I don't know how many dangers are hidden, I don't know how many undercurrents are surging. Wang Yusheng turned his head stiffly, and gave an awkward and polite smile to Hiratsuka teacher. What's the matter, teacher? Are you satisfied with my self-introduction? Very satisfied. Accompanied by a roar, Hiratsuka teacher raised his leg high, and the underside of the shoe became bigger and bigger in Wang Yusheng's eyes. Ah! It's a pity that the teacher is not wearing a skirt. With the last thought, Wang Yusheng flew out of the classroom. Awesome, my brother. Male classmate 1. Awesome. Not convinced. The second male classmate. Long knowledge, long knowledge. Male classmate 3. How long hasn't seen anyone dare to do things under the eyelids of a violent female? Male student 4. And it's the first day in school. Male classmate 3. That's right. Hiratsuka teacher's iron fist is famous in the school, and almost all students know it. Even new students will have seniors to warn them. So it has been a long time since no one dared to provoke Shizuka Hiratsuka, except Wang Yusheng. I don't know how Hanyu is injured, I really want to check his body. Male student 5. Male student 3 and male student 4 moved their seats again. Looks pretty good looking. I didn't expect it to be such a person. Female classmate 1. Will he have a problem there? The female classmate pointed to her head. What's wrong? I think he sounds funny and humorous. Female classmate 3. No matter what, I want to have a great harmony of life with him. Female classmate 4. You with a brain full of desires. Other female classmates complained. What's wrong? Desire is the source of human progress. The female classmate SI began to argue with others. Student Wang Yusheng, it seems a little bit different from what you imagined. The quiet girl in the corner of the classroom tilted her head. Kun Hanyu, have you been stimulated by anything? An Yulun was also dumbfounded at Wang Yusheng's unusual performance. When Wang Yusheng returned to the classroom, the students underneath began to applaud. No matter what you think of Wang Yusheng. At least, Wang Yusheng, who is the challenger of the violent woman Hiratsuka. It's right to get everyone's highest respect. Teacher Shizuka Hiratsuka had a headache, clutching his forehead, and said to Wang Yusheng. You can go to the third position from the bottom on the side of the door. If you have any questions, just ask the classmate next to you. Wang Yusheng didn't dare to pretend to be forced anymore. Listening to the teacher honestly, I went to my seat and got ready for class. Waves can be waves anytime and anywhere, but waves in front of Shizuka Hirotsuka are risky and costly. If you are not careful, you will pretend to be overwhelmed and be dropped. After school in the evening, Wang Yusheng went home with a new loan because he did not join the club when he first came to school. Along the way, a new loan looked at Wang Yusheng with a weird expression, and put on an expression of hesitation. Wang Yusheng, who showed a new loan in his eyes, sighed. After all, his performance today is too different from the way he used to get along with Lun Yat. First came a thrilling self-introduction. Then, when facing the classmates who came to greet him warmly, I had to take out my mobile phone and give myself a little background music. Then when facing the strange enthusiasm of male student 5 and female student 4, I did not insist on being stripped of clothes by them, and found that my body was not muscled but was beaten and swollen. After desperately explaining, the students realized that he was not a bad boy, but was beaten by Hirotsuka teacher. In short, the first day of transfer is simply unfortunate. So Hanyu also said to Ren. Lun Yekan, just say whatever you want. You look like you feel uncomfortable, and I feel uncomfortable. Hey, is it so obvious? It's all written on the face, and I am not blind. Okay. But, Hanyu, what's the matter with you today? Why did you come up to provoke Shizuka Hirotsuka? And it's a little bit different from your previous performance. I have a lasting problem. I wanted to explain to Lun, but when I thought that I would be in such a state of being the king for a long time, I replied. Just take my long repressed nature to be released. Seeing that Hanyu didn't explain too much intent, Ren was not prepared to ask more. When they arrived at Lun Yi's house, the two of them had to be separated. Then Hanyukan, see you tomorrow. Lun Yat, are you going to do a part-time job next? Yes, the next season's new show has many works that are worth looking forward to. I am now ready to save money for the next shopping. That's it. Well, there is something I want to ask you for help. Oh, Hanyukan, can I help you? Let's see if there is a suitable part-time job, then tell me about it. I want to work and make some money. Oh? Hanyukan, why do you suddenly want to work part-time? You, the rich second generation, shouldn't be short of money. Lun is also familiar with Hanyu, so he roughly knows Hanyu's family conditions, and is a little curious about Hanyu's sudden desire to work and make money. And it's not very optimistic whether the spoiled Wang Yusheng can stick to his part-time job. Hey, it's not because of the inheritance tax. In order to inherit the inheritance, the cash in the family is basically spent. The remaining money will not last long. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com. I don't want to spend a little living expenses. Take the things left by my father and sell them. So I plan to find a part-time job and work to earn money to support it for a period of time. Oh, well, let me pay attention to it for you. If something is suitable, I will tell you. But if you are fired because you can't perform well, don't blame me for not continuing to help you find a job. Lun also thought about it and agreed to Hanyu, but as a principled person, he still left some conditions for himself. Of course, Hanyu would not be unhappy about this. Compared to his previous life, Hanyu was also a social animal, and his concerns about Rinya were quite clear. Don't worry, if I work, I will definitely work hard. I still share these things lightly. Thank you, Lun Yat. It's okay, it's all trivial things. Then I'm going to work, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. After speaking, the two people separated and acted separately. Hanyu had just arrived near home when he realized that he seemed to have a new neighbor. The classical villa next door finally got a new owner after being vacant for a long time. Previously, it was said that this villa was haunted. Although the price was low at random, no one came to buy it. Of course the Hanyu family still stayed next door to this haunted villa. So on the one hand, Hanyu's father didn't bother to move. On the other hand, Dad Hanyu didn't believe in such things as haunting. Now on the road outside the villa, a truck from a moving company is parked there, and workers from the moving company come in and out with goods and furniture. Until Hanyu took the key to open the door and entered the room, he didn't see someone who looked like the owner coming out next door, so Hanyu stopped paying attention. After moving in next door, let's find a chance to visit someday.